Welcome to A Woman in Nuclear podcast, the podcast that dives deep into the dynamic world of women in the nuclear industry. Join us as we explore the challenges, triumphs, and unique perspectives of women shaping the future of nuclear energy. Stay tuned and enjoy. Welcome to today's episode of A Woman in Nuclear podcast. Today we are having a special guest in the person of Florencia Renteria. She is one of the executive members of the Women in Nuclear Young Generation. Welcome, Florencia, to this episode of the podcast.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. Happy to be here with you and all your audience. And it's my great honor to be a part of this project, And I congratulate you for this wonderful initiative you started with your colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to have you on this episode. So let's start from the beginning. How did it all start? The passion, the motivation, the story behind your place in the nuclear industry today.
Well, my background is chemical engineering. I studied my bachelor's degree in Mexico, and that moment is very important whether you want to select a STEM career or not. Before you're finishing your high school. And this is when I made the decision that chemistry, it was one of my passions. Why? Because chemistry is everywhere. You see it daily in the industry, hospitals, schools, science and engineering, technology, and so on. And I pursued my studies in that field. Basically, the specialty I studied was extractive metallurgy, combining with chemistry. Is more oriented to the mining industry, but then passionate about following other steps. When I completed my bachelor's degree, it came the opportunity through the International Atomic Energy Agency to apply for a scholarship related to nuclear engineering. I mean, sometimes we may think it doesn't have anything to do or to match with my profile as a chemist, but I can say I was completely wrong, because once that you enter the industry, you will see that other applications and the multidisciplinary studies from different fields like chemistry, mechanical, electrical part are those capabilities that we need in the industry. And I applied with all my studies, reports, and projects I participated within my bachelor's degree to this scholarship. Is linked through the International Atomic Energy Agency Technical Cooperation Projects in the division of the Technical Cooperation Department. And then this program is in cooperation with the School of Kings, KEPCO International Nuclear Graduate School in South Korea. Mainly their studies in nuclear power plant engineering, but a few years back they have opened this program related to energy policy in South Korea. The school has been operating since more than a decade ago, maybe in 2011, 2020. 2012, they started the program formally with the agency, but the school is well recognized in the industry globally because they admit every year international students as well as South Korean experts, where you can combine the academic degree, the background, the skills, and so on to work in these international teams. And this is I've been having in my career as well, because this is how you get merged into the industry as well. You learn from the experts, you get this knowledge transfer experience, and team teaching, team learning. So while afterwards I was under the IEATC fellowship programs, I went to China to study my PhD in nuclear science and technology at Harbin Engineering University. Though it's the Asian region, some practices changes from time to time, but within this journey, I've been having the opportunity to be participating in the World Nuclear University programs like the Summer Institute in 2019. I've been attending into other international conference trainings and so on. That gives you a different perspective and global umbrella of these challenges. I'll say this journey has been very reachable and wonderful to learn from different people around the globe and to be in touch specifically in more regions like the African continent that are developing key percent human capacity building, or the Asian region as well, or my region, the Latin America.
Wow, that's a whole lot of story. You've come very far from your background in chemical engineering, and today you are fully stable in the nuclear industry. So I don't know, should I call this like a case of accidental, or was it a deliberate decision to choose nuclear industry and then pursue your master's, or you just accidentally came across the opportunity from IAEA and decided to, anyway, let me just take this up since this is what I have on ground?
I wouldn't call it fully accidentally, because we had a talk in my former university of one of the director divisions. It was Dr. Luis Longoria. He's a technical cooperation director of the Latin American region, where he exposes the cases and all the opportunities. Because once that you are inspired by others, other senior people that they've been going through the same, maybe different background, but they have attached these roots to the disciplines, you will see more clearly what are the choices. Then by the moment that you start talking to all of them, you will see all the opportunities you have. Of course, at the end of the day, you also need to put a lot of effort from your side to keep studying, to keep learning, because I will say it's not an easy journey. At the beginning, you have to catch up a lot of basic knowledge that you maybe haven't been exposed. But if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to develop a career, you will see that it has a lot of benefits. Before finishing my master's degree, I realized I wanted to keep learning more. And this is when I came across to keep pursuing for my PhD studies, because I'll say once that you open one chapter of knowledge, of course you want to keep digging more, right? And it's very interesting to see how all the pieces of the puzzle are combined and how you're part of this big puzzle in the global perspective.
Very well. The nuclear industry has this curious attribute in it that the more you see, the more you want to see more. And it seems like the universe, the more you explore, the more to explore begins to open up to you. So you from your story, we see that your passion and drive has grown over the years. From just the MSc, you were prompted to go further into a PhD. So how has the experience been overall, considering that you are a female in a male-dominated industry? Your passion has seemed to grow despite the being in the minority group. How have you pursued this, and how has the experience been for you?
Of course, sometimes it's a challenge being sitting with many engineers, and maybe you will be one of the few engineers in the room. But I wouldn't call it maybe as a discouragement. I would call it as an opportunity to see this visibility growth for more female students to come on board. Because then you see the communication skills, the way of thinking, it plays a different role. And most important, how willing you are to contribute to the solutions, because it doesn't mean that you only have to be sitting in that room without contributing. As humans, we have as professionals, we have to be thinking in the way of contributing positively, because you will see a lot of positivity and negativity, but that negativity you can do that to take those comments. I mean, I will say you have to shape the information differently and transform that negative energy into a positive energy, and you should allow it to make it work in a different environment, because you will see a lot of challenges at international, regional, engineering, scientific level, but then we have to provide different type of solutions. I can tell you when I was starting my master's degree, we were only 6 female students with 50 male students. So the minority was, there was
quite
a lot of
obvious.
disparity. Of course. Then when I entered to the PhD program, each year the Atomic Energy Scholarship from China selects 10 students for PhD studies in this way. So I was the only female candidate in 2019 when I entered. The rest of my colleagues, they were males.
Wow.
Then you will see the huge difference sometimes, but I can say that taking advantage of being maybe not the only female in the room, but to give this unity to the team. Sometimes you will see a lot of discoordination, or maybe some people that are not well organized, but then you can be a facilitator. You can be that person who unites others in that field, because some others, they are not willing to share their skills or engineering background, and others, they are shy to ask. But then you can become this piece of the puzzle of being a moderator and bring them across. Tell them that we should work together. We should work for the benefit, not only from our generation, but also to see this long-term relationship in the industry, because none of us, we know the day of tomorrow, what is the position that we are going to take over, and who will need from us, or from whom we will need something. So at the end of the day, in the industry, it's about supporting each other, because I will say our seniors have been doing a lot of work to couple with renewable energies. But if we don't start from generation to generation, the journey can take over different directions. So I know it's not easy to be sometimes a only female or that representation, but we should see it in a positive way, how we can unite people.
That's lovely. And I think that is one flavor of being a woman in the midst of men brings. That urge to unite, that urge to align everybody's perspective to a common goal. I think I have experienced that in my own little way. Also being just one of two females in a class of about 30 or more students. So yes, the I don't know if I should call it a motherly instinct that try to keep everything together, keep everything bonded, irrespective of different perspective, irrespective of different backgrounds and ideologies. You have your MSc, you have your PhD. What's the future looking like for you? What's career path, and what do you think are the challenges you have to deal in this career path you're going to go along with?
Well, there is no, how can I say it? Sometimes there is no clear path for any of us, because the paths are open while we are working on those opportunities. I mean, we cannot always expect that everything will come to you by itself. I mean, for having those opportunities, you also have to deliver, you also have to be sharing those resources. And I wouldn't say like there is no clear or right or wrong path, because each person has its own path to be developed in the industry. I would like just to share a small story that it came, I think, last March 2024, this year. We were invited, the young generation community, to participate at the IEA, a big event for bringing on the fellowships of the Maurice Skłodowska career program and the Liz Meitner. And we assist to the organizers to provide this career roadmap development. We designed, particularly I provided these main input of what are the choices the young generation has to provide or how you can analyze your career by itself. And there are different sections. We developed the short version and the extended version. The short version has 15 items and the long version has 19 items. The long version, I will say, is more complete because we have the full revision of Professor Akira Tokuhiro from Ontario Tech University. He's been a great mentor, advisor to the young generation community. And this roadmap exercise helps you to come along the way with your own checklist. For example, whether you have to develop communication skills, educational capabilities, or which type of trainings would you like to be part of, or even summer schools, how we can start some publications and so on. So this type of exercise is for everyone, even for senior people, because even for senior people, though they may have more clear idea of how to develop their careers, but the times are changing. We cannot think in the same way like 30 or 40 years ago, because technology, generational perspectives, and many other educational models are playing a different role. So for career roadmap development, we have this tool. We are now in the process to translate it to different languages, because we won't limit ourselves to one single language, but we want to translate to other official UN languages as well. And I would say we have to incorporate all the factors for young professionals to let them see the big picture. It doesn't mean that you have to follow 1, 2, 3, or 4. What it means, if you are in a particular process or activity, before you are finishing this activity, you can choose which other career roadmap or career route step you want to pursue. But if one step doesn't work, then you can try 1 or 2 or 3 steps in parallel, because this journey is about give options to people. Let them choose what they want. Let them choose what they will feel more comfortable at. It's not about imposing something, because it doesn't mean the way I develop my career, the others should develop. At the end of the day, everyone can choose their own path.
That's very well. There is something I have noted in your story so far is the role of mentorship. From completion of your bachelor's, you have guidance of your professors, and now you are talking about your good mentor who is in Ontario Tech. So this goes ahead to emphasize the need for mentorship for every young woman, every young person seeking to make a headway in career. So what do you think about mentorship in general?
Well, in my career, I've been having several mentors. One of them is Professor Akira Topiro, is one of the best. I've been having Dr. Luis Longoria from IEA. Currently, my mentor is also Adoracion Arnaldos. She's the former leader of the Women in Nuclear Innovation WiNyg Group of Expertise, which now I'm honored to co-lead this group with my colleagues, Carla.
Congrats.
Thank you, Carla, and Mrs. Chang from China. She's now the leader, and many other people. Mrs. Isabella Macho from the European Commission, and many other people that we've been meeting in our careers. What I can say to all of the audience that will be listening, mentoring plays a key role. If we can have support from seniors, from juniors, and even from people of the same age that we have, all of us, is vital, because now you can have these mixed mentoring sessions or mixed mentoring generational perspectives to combine what it has been working for the past years in the current, and how we can combine our abilities to work in the future. And if we can have this conversation with other people, we will see what choices we can make. At the end of the day, we are the only one in charge of our own choices and decisions. But when you have the input, when you have the advice of others, then you can have a different level of criteria and become more assertive and be strategic in the choices you want to choose for your own path. That's my opinion. And it's good if we can have perspectives from people of different regions. I mean, you can have someone from the African region, you can also have someone from the Asian region, American region, and so on, because you want to have this global scale process that you could be seeing as a general umbrella. And it will help you to take the decisions more effectively, in my opinion.
That's correct, actually. And before hearing you speak now, I have always had the idea of restricting mentorship to one's probably regional background, I tend to think that if you have somebody from your region, you kind of share a similar reality and they get to understand the challenges that are peculiar to you because of your origin. But now I'm hearing you talk, I think it's actually necessary to have a multicultural mentoring base. Yeah, it shouldn't just be one person from your country or one person from your region. It's also good to explore from other continents and you get to have a more holistic idea on how to approach your challenges. That's very interesting and it's an eye opener for me. I appreciate that. So, you seem to also hold leadership positions. I know you also have a role in WiNyg generation, and you, just as you mentioned right now, you have a role in women in nuclear innovation. Uh, yes. Okay. So how did you get to that point? I mean, did you just, a lot of us, someone like me, would just go get my MSc, get my PhD, then go back to my country and for just a job or a way to contribute and not think about holding strategic leadership positions as you do. So how did it happen? What was the motivation in wanting to be a leader and as it is right now, being a leader in these organizations?
Well, thanks for your question. That's and all the comments are very interesting. What I will say, the most important thing of being a leader or being a facilitator, it's about coordinating, uniting people, and give the visibility to others. And if we are leaders, we should have the spirit of serving to the community and contributing to the global challenges. I've been saying from time to time how the definition of a leader has been changing around the time. Sometimes the leaders or the current leaders we have, of course, I'm not going to question because there are many types of leaderships, but
Yeah.
I would say the general definition is not well understood by all those leaders that we have currently in the industry, or apparently some of these leadership roles were different back in the years. Because now the times have been changing. I'm now a scientific and strategic advisor to the young generation community, and what I can tell you from from the bottom of my heart, when we are committed to a certain cause, when we find these opportunities or these invitations from others to collaborate, we should be able to see the great impact and the visibility that we can make. I will say the more we share, the more we get. And then when we have that spirit or that set of mind of contributing to different perspectives, the invitations will start like the inbox giving you, but I mean those invitations are gonna come to you by itself because people will start to see how you are contributing and the capabilities you are developing to others. Because what I can tell you is sometimes we see a lot of disadvantages in the development of people, but then if you are curious or of how you can contribute, maybe the steps that you have to implement, those steps are not so huge to make, but those are significant. Then when you started to recognize those efforts that you can make or you can implement, this is when these strategies can be applied. And then by itself, you will have those invitations from people. That's how I got them. I mean, I didn't go and ask myself, hey, can you make me this advisor of this group? Or can I be your I don't know, technical program chair or so on? No, I mean, those invitations, I got them through another colleagues as well, because they see the capability in yours, in your skills or in the way that you are doing things. One of the things that I experienced by myself is the more humble we are, the more simpler we are, we tend to see clearly the objectives. We tend to see clearly the horizons because from my experience, being arrogant, being that people that likes to show off in the room is not the most strategic way to do things. And we have to keep that humbleness wherever we go and when around with the people that we are.
I want to ask this. Isn't there a thin line between humility and imposter syndrome? Because, yeah, it is necessary to remain humble, but at a point you begin to downgrade and misjudge your capacity under the guise of being humble.
Well, I will say you need to keep this balance because it's not about the imposter syndrome. It's about how you are placing the pieces or all the strategic ways on this plan. I mean, having that capability, even if you can have that capability, you should always keep humble. You should always keep your feet on the ground because it can be a lot of very high towers, and those high towers will fall because you are not having those strong foundations in your spirit and in your commitment. That's my opinion. And of course, when you are delivering the comments to the people, whether you are an advisor, whether they ask for your technical input, there is always a way to be diplomatic, to be consistent in the information, because what I always say to myself, when you deliver a comment or a feedback, it should be in a positive way, because a lot of people will like to destroy your work. But giving to people a negative point is not going to help them. You should be positive. Of course, you will have pros and cons, but we should be realistic. That's my philosophy. Be realistic and set things on the ground. I mean, be as clear as possible, because when we have this type of miscommunication, you will see a lot of challenges and more problems are created because people people don't like to have this consistent communication. That's what I've been living or what I've been seeing around the industry.
I think I understand your perspective, and I am beginning to share in it. So tell us about what your thoughts are on the future of the industry, especially the role of women in it. We've seen a lot of recent innovations from SMR to different types of reactor molten salts and the likes of it. A whole lot of innovation springing up. So what do you think about this and the role, especially the role of women in it with regards to diversity and inclusion?
Well, I can say that the future looks very promising because a lot of the seniors and experts and junior and young professionals in the field are delivering their strongest efforts to deploy these models of technologies, not only small modular reactors, but also the variety of the generation 4 reactors, prototypes that we got in the industry. Some models are more advanced than the others, but what I can see clearly is that we need the young generation. We need the women, and we also need the man capability, because if we keep keep talking among the same story that only women, we are having this discrimination with the opposite gender, or even with the other genders that we are seeing nowadays, because we live in this holistic sphere where the world is transforming, and we have to be inclusive with all the gender communities, I'll say. And we need the expertise of women, of everyone who wants to contribute in the nuclear industry, because without them and without all of us, things won't be possible. This is like a future race. So we are in the 2024, but then how we say in the 2034, every 5-10 years, how is going to be the evolution? And if we set this long-term plan, we have to be willing to commit whoever comes on board to follow that plan. Because what I've seen sometimes from time to time, though you can have a very good masterpiece of plan, but people will not be willing to follow, or some of the budget problems, financial economy, and so on, are not going to be able to comply these plans for the future. But if we break down the entire plan strategically, it can happen. It's going to happen while you come on with all those resources.
Finally, what is one thing you would love to change about the nuclear industry if you had the superpowers to do that?
Well, that would be huge. Probably one of the superpowers I wish I could have is to read people's mind, because if we can read people's mind, maybe we can see things in a different perspective, or we can agree. Simpler than before, because when you have this connection or coordination with the minds of others, the dialogue is becoming simpler than before.
Yes.
And the decisions will be less complicated than before, because you are in a symphony, you are synchronized. But of course, that's very over the supernatural powers, I'll say. But what I wish to see in the future, or maybe in the coming years, is that everyone who's willing to develop a career, they can be they can be placed in the job that they want, or at least near to the options that they have studied. Because we see nowadays people have studied something and now they have to adapt into a different environment because the job they want is not available, or the opportunities they are trying to pursue are not available. We have seen from time to time how young professionals, they should lower down their quality to adapt to those jobs that are now available, or maybe those young professionals that have the capability, they cannot escalate the opportunities in a senior level they have because of the age, because of the gender, because of the cultural background. So what I wish to see probably in the future is that we should look at people's abilities and the commitment they have. I don't know, if we apply kind of an evaluation in terms of communication, scientific diplomacy, how they see these performance management skills in the long-term process, maybe we can do a more assertive selection into the human resources development in each company. I don't know, I'm just saying things from a different angle, but it can be helpful because now you can select those talents and allocate them properly in the area or in the discipline they wish to develop their skills. And of course, give them this long-term roadmap process, because you see sometimes people are diverting from one area to another because they had a bad experience. But it doesn't mean because you had a bad experience in that particular field, you won't make it again. Probably you were placed with the wrong person, right?
Yes.
Not with the most appropriate person in that field. So what I will say maybe is to do more a careful selection in the process, and to give the opportunities to those graduate and young professionals who are willing to be part of the global story in the nuclear industry.
Thank you very much, Florencia. It's an honor to have you on this episode. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thanks to you, Geraldine, to this invitation, and I will be very happy to come again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Woman in Nuclear podcast. We hope you are inspired. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials at A Woman in Nuclear. Catch you on the next episode.